Hello, my name is Mary Rednauer, and this is my presentation on Bridging the Gap, where we will discuss diffusion of innovation theory. So what is diffusion of innovation theory? It was created by Everett Rogers in 1962, and he created this with the idea that that an idea or a product gains momentum as it spreads through a specific population or social system. The end result is that people adopt a new idea, behavior, or product. So as we go through these different adopter types, the theory is that the more people that it is introduced to, the more likely people are to accept it. So the different adopters, the first one is the innovators. Now these people are usually the people that come up with the idea or the product themselves, people who are the pioneers. Now the next stage is early adapters or early adopters. These are leaders. They love to embrace change. They like to know and they like to see a how-to, and they love the information and how it is shown to be implemented. Now, the early adopters, they are very aware of the need to change, and they also are comfortable with adopting new change. They do not need a lot of convincing to change. The early majority, these people are rarely leaders, but they do need to see evidence of the innovation working. They like to adopt new ideas, and they adopt them faster than the average person, but they still need a lot of convincing. They like to hear about success stories and see evidence, and that really appeals to these people. So the the late majority, these people are very skeptical. They're very skeptical of change, and they only accept the innovation after it has been tried by the majority. They like to see examples. And then some strategies of appeal to the late majority is that they like to have information, and they like to see how many people it has been successful with. So now the laggards are the very last group. These people are bound by tradition. They're usually very conservative, and these people are extremely skeptical of change. They are by and large the hardest group to convince. Strategies that appeal to this group of people might include different statistics, a lot of pressure like peer pressure, or a time pressure issue, and then unfortunately fear tactics work a lot with this group of people. Now how does diffusion of innovation theory apply to education? So Rogers' theory is that the most appropriate for investigating the adaptation or the adoption of technology in higher education and the educational environments. Now we all know that education, there are varying levels of people in education. There are new educators who have a lot of new ideas, who love the idea of change. They like to use different things in the classroom. So these people would be more of the innovators or the early adopters, or even the early majority, because they still want to please a lot of the people that are in the building, and their superiors, they want them to like them. They want kind of to know how things already work so they can come in and kind of mimic that. But they also have a lot of their new ideas. And a lot of the veteran teachers who have been doing this a long time, they're more down here toward the laggards or the late majority. They really like how they do things themselves right now. They are very reluctant to change because it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to undertake to learn new things, especially technology. So how to utilize the adopters? So Christ used these types of people while he was on earth. Like I mentioned before, when introducing something new, such as technology, there will inevitably be people who are reluctant. There are strategies to encourage all forms of adopters to embrace the new traditions. When trying to use a new form of technology in a school setting, all levels of adoption are present. So, for example, right now during this global pandemic, a lot of solutions to education and keeping people safe inside the school is to offer a strictly virtual learning process, a hybrid learning model, which is on in online and in school part of the time, and then there's an option for traditional learning in the classroom. Now, most schools are considering either the hybrid or the 100% virtual. With that being said, every teacher, new teachers, veteran teachers are needing to learn many different forms of technology, and creating those impactful lessons and helping students reach their learning goals in a different type of learning environment using technology. So there are going to be a lot of people who are reluctant to change, but it needs to be done. So we are going to have the innovators, so the people that come to you that have a really good platform to use, trying to get people to use it, such as Google Classroom. And then there's going to be the early adopters. So the strategies that these people would use are simply being told we need to do this, and they agree. The early majority is that these people still need convincing. They still need to be convinced that online schooling is even an option, that that they need to build excitement around the new technology. They need to get excited about it. The late majority, now these strategies would include hearing success stories, how we can still make impactful lessons even in a different learning environment, and how learning to do something new will actually help our students. Now the laggards, these are usually the veteran teachers who are more fearful of learning the new technology, knowing how to use it correctly. So something that we often need to tell these teachers is that if this technology is not used, then something negative is going to happen, and so forth. Now, how did Jesus use these adopters? So there's adopters in every scenario: business, education, politically. Now, change challenges our existing categories. Change challenges our existing categories, and I really like that because change is not always easy. Change comes with changing something that is the norm into something else that will be a norm. So it challenges our existing categories. Christ used all people to spread his love and message when he was on earth. Innovators, so Jesus was the ultimate innovator. In the Jewish religion, Jesus arriving as a poor man, living in rags, dying as a criminal, was against everything that they believed. So Jesus in himself was an innovator. The early adopters, these were his disciples. They needed very little convincing because they felt like they were called to be with Jesus and be his disciples. The early majority would be people like later when Jesus told Simon and Andrew to follow him, they went to Cana in Galilee, and Jesus was noted as performing a miracle or a sign, and his disciples believed in him. The later majority, this would be the two blind men that heard of Jesus's miracles, and they were skeptical of his healing powers, so they wanted evidence to know if he could perform these miraculous events. And then they believed in Jesus and his message when Jesus healed them. And the laggards, these are really anybody that didn't believe in Jesus but then saw his public miracles and then instantly believed, providing that evidence. So why is this system important? The diffusion of innovation theory not only tells us how a social group accepts a new idea or practice, but it also tells of individual personality types within that social group. This theory helps educators understand the trend or the likelihood of a new form of technology being accepted. And it's important to keep this system in mind as Christians. When we try to reach others and talk to them about God, these same levels of adopters still apply. Thank you.